So if you're like me and you're got your head buried in current events and constantly looking for things that provoke a deeper emotional reaction to amidst all of the madness and the chaos going on in life, I got to tell you, this group came across my feed on X, man, and it stopped me in my tracks. It's, under the name beefinitiative.com. And I stopped on this and I started to dig into it. And I saw this incredible organization that is really dedicated to bringing ranchers back to the forefront of the food supply chain and to try and get rid of all of the other corporate entities that are trying to disrupt our connection to nature and to our food supply. And so when I saw this, man, I just got overwhelmed and reached out through direct message, which I have a tendency to do for people. And lo and behold, this wonderful gentleman that is on with us today reached back out and was like, yeah, I'd love to come on. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome RS June to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, David. I really appreciate you reaching out. Like I was telling you just before we started, man, it took a lot of courage to come out and say sort of where this came from and, how this all started. But, I'm glad that you responded to it well. And, being a Navy SEAL and a CIA contractor, I was like, I think I could roll with this guy for a little bit.
Well, I appreciate that. There's plenty of us out there in the world that are knuckleheads, but I try and be as genuine to my true self as possible. All right, RS, before we, can you just give us a topical introduction to what it is you all are doing and just what it is, where people can find it, and the overall general idea of what's going on?
So the Beef Initiative, I like to say, is a think tank. It's essentially what it is. It's a modern day cattle organization with a focus on truth in food and truth in journalism. You can't have one without the other. You need to educate people about where your food comes from, what all this policy stuff is in the background, why beef costs what it does, why you don't have access to your local rancher. So all that has to happen first before you get people to divorce from the grocery store. And so that's really the main idea. We're not against grocery stores. If grocery stores carried local beef, that'd be the thing, but that's not what's happening here. We live in a condition where 85% of the beef in this country runs through just 4 multinational corporations. One of them coming from Brazil. That name is JBS. And these guys are bad. They're bad. So, we're losing about 77 family farms a day in this country.
What?
Yes, 77 family farms a day are gone. I think it's around 150,000 family farms have vanished in the past 5 years.
I don't even. Are you kidding me right now, RS? That's a real number?
Yeah, I think it was between like 2017 and 2022, and that number's only accelerated.
Oh my! I don't know what to say right now. I'm in shock.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers that are shocking when you start to sort of circle around what's going on. So 4 multinational corporations control 85% of the flow of beef in this country. We lose 77 family farms a day. Obesity and diabetes has increased like 100%. Our cities are chaos. The countryside is filled with nothing but dollar stores and vape shops. Same as the city, really. So, we're all the same here. We're all sitting here in the same boat. We're all surrounded by dollar stores and vape shops, and no one's got access to local food anymore. So the Beef Initiative is out here, hopefully on the forefront of connecting people directly to their local rancher. And when I say directly, I mean that in the most thorough sense of the word. We connect people directly to the ranchers' domain names, their websites, right? We're not trying to sit in the way of things. We're not trying to get in the middle of things. 77 farms a day are lost in this country. There ain't no room for a middleman, right? This is a rebuilding project. So there's a lot that goes into it. You know, the Rancher Direct is a structure and a philosophy that we take all the way down to the code on the internet.
Wow. That's brilliant. You know, one of the things that really stuck with me right there is, you know, for many, many years, I think there was always a pretty distinct division between, you know, people in urban environments and people in rural lands. And the thing that you said that we're all connected now because of the disruption in our food systems and supply chains and our access to the fundamental foods that keep us healthy, which is protein, right? That there is this like this is connection. We're interwoven together. And, you know, what was really, I think, the hook for me is when you responded to me, you know, on X, you know, you shared really briefly with me your background and story out of Philly. Could you kind of talk through that background a little bit and what ended up getting you to where you're at right now?
So the story starts of my entrance into the beef industry. You know, about 5 years ago is really when things kind of took a turn for the worse in my life. You know, that story kind of starts back in 2008 with the financial collapse. That's when, you know, everything kind of turned upside down for me. But, you know, 10, 15 years later, you know, I found myself, I guess, with a chip on my shoulder and, you know, kind of a hardened heart. And I was actually working as an artist and designer. I was a sculptor, and I helped a couple guys build some companies. And one of the things that I was doing before I became homeless was I was building $250 million sculptures, getting paid $12 an hour to do it. So that was basically like I had hit like the peak of like, I'm a very skilled designer. These people trust me, but you know, lo and behold, of course, that whole market's a scam. And I ended up where I was. So I ended up hitting the road from that. And, you know, a series of combination of circumstances led me to, you know, being out on the street for a little bit. A little bit turned into a little while. A little while turned into a couple of trips back and forth from Philly to Jersey, sleeping on the train. And, you know, it took a little while for me to get up on my feet. You know, what's a little funny about that story is one of the things that helped me get off on my feet was Bitcoin. So I ended up finding Bitcoin while I was basically running around the streets, running around the train tracks. And I was working and stuff. Yeah, of course, I was still pulling money in. But at that time, I mean, you couldn't get a place in Kensington under the train tracks in that neighborhood where kids are walking over dope fiends, shooting dope in between their toes for less than $900 a month. That's like the worst neighborhood on this planet, right? So, you know, I decided to kind of make my own way. I discovered Bitcoin because I was, you know, when you run around with people on the streets, they got all sorts of ideas. And, but this one was a good one. And so I just started stacking, and I ended up being able to save enough because, you know, price went up. I didn't have enough to get an apartment of my own because, you know, first and last month, all that stuff, right? So, but I did figure out that I could sublet. And so I figured out, I just gotta save up 400 and I'm good. 500, I'm good. So that's really where it started. That's where things started to really level up. You know, I got on my feet, started making a little bit of money, started digging a little bit deeper into what, you know, value meant, right? That's what really Bitcoin taught me. I'm not all, you know, Bitcoined out or nothing, but Bitcoin taught me what money was and what value was. And it taught me to look a little bit deeper and into things. And so once I crossed that path of money understanding, I ended up meeting a guy named Texas Slim. And Texas Slim was the founder of the Beef Initiative. Now he's a lot like me, man. He's like the West Texas version of this Philly kid who was sleeping on the streets, right? I don't know if you ever been out to Canyon or Amarillo, but they got a look in their eyes. They have a look in their eyes out there. It's where people get lost, right? So he saw something
permanently.
Yes, sir. So, he saw something in me. Well, I reached out to him and I said, look, I don't know who you are. Something about you, man. Like, let's go. Here's what I do. I put together a little video for him because I have a little bit of, digital skills. And he was like, okay, there we go. You're my man. Let's roll. A couple months later, we ended up, I moved from Philly down to Florida. And we ended up going down to Miami for the first time, and he went on the John Pomp show. And that's really where the whole thing started. I didn't have, real digital design skills like web design or, anything like that. I didn't know shit about the beef industry. I didn't. But here's what I did know, because this is what the Beef Initiative taught me, is that our mothers used to cook with tallow from a local farm. My mom grew up cooking microwave meals. She died young in the streets. And everything, after she died, I pointed at everything. Everything was the problem. It's capitalism. It's this, it's that, it's the other thing, right? Until I learned about the cow. And I learned about what happened to our nutrition and our health. And I started looking back on pictures like in the 70s, and I'm like, everybody looks normal, right? Like, everybody looks good. All the girls look good. The guys look handsome. Like, why is everybody so disgustingly ugly today? And why is everything around me breaking down? And why is everyone kind of swirling around in chaos, pointing fingers at some boogeyman? When really the problem is, when you come down to it, the problem is a loss of value of our currency and the loss of our connection to our local food. And that's it. You fix those two things and you start with food. Don't start with the currency. That's too big. Start with the food. Yeah. You want to build a self-sovereign life for yourself. You want to build a life of freedom where your mind clears up, where you suddenly have access to God and spirituality again. And you have access to all those feelings that you had when you were a kid. You remember those? When you felt free? You just kind of laid on the bed and you were good. You weren't feeling like something could happen, right? That's what beef, that's what local beef brings you. And so that's really what I discovered. And so, I was running around with a chip on my shoulder. I was, traumatized by everything that happened with mom and all that stuff. But man, once I met Slim and once I started working with the Beef Initiative, all that anger turned into something else. It wasn't just like, running around like foaming out the mouth, angry. It was very, very disciplined now. And, the Beef Initiative for me, take it for what it is, man. But the Beef Initiative for me is revenge. That's what it is. I lost my mom. I lost a lot of friends. I didn't really have much, but I also never had nothing. I never gained much, until now. So this is a revenge move for me. This is it. And so you can kind of see it by the way I act on X, that's it. I'm done with the BS. There's no more asking for permission. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm the one who's out of place and I'm the one who's coming from the outside. No. We've had decades to correct this situation. 80% of this country lives in the city. How many of those are in poverty? So we have to have a new pathway, and we have to speak from a place that includes everybody. And if you ask me, you want to solve the problem of the city and the country, coming at each other like this, you feed the city local beef from their local ranchers. Is that it? It's that simple. Fill the bodegas with local ground beef. It's that simple.
David Rutherford, my best friend. Welcome to the show.
Sean, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. What's up, team? I recently had the incredible honor of joining my best friend, Sean Ryan, on his show. And as a token of my appreciation for him and his audience, I want to do something special for you. For 30 years, I've been helping individuals and teams to discover how to utilize pain and suffering to propel their performance. From the World Series champions, the Boston Red Sox, to elite operators, top entrepreneurs, and business owners. I want to offer the first 3 foundational Frog Logic courses that I've been developing for the past decade. Embrace Fear, Forging Self-Confidence, and Team Life. These courses come straight from the painful stories and lessons learned I talked about on Sean's podcast. And they also emerged from the thousands of people I've instructed. Normally, these courses are $200 each, but until September 15th, you can get all 3 for just $200. That's 3 courses for the price of 1. Please go to davidrutherford.com or click the link in the description to get the bundle. Thank you very much. Hoo-yah and Godspeed. I when I think about it, obviously, I grew up involved in the military industrial complex, and from the moment I was a frogman and seeing how that worked, and where we'd go and what conflicts we would be involved in and for why, and then working for the military industrial complex directly at Blackwater, and then for the intelligence world, you get an eye opening, right? You're not that innocent, kind of naive young boy that thinks America is one thing, but it's really another. And if you understand the story of that industry, you understand that it was a monstrous consolidation of defense contractors post-Vietnam. And if I'm understanding you correctly, and by the way, I just want to throw a little tidbit in for you guys listening. RS, when he was down in Miami meeting Texas Slim for the first time, he actually met Jordy, because Jordy was the producer for Anthony Pompliano and his Bitcoin show. So we just had a little reunion before we got on, which was, man, there's nothing better than that. It proves how small this world is and how impactful we can really be through these random connections and getting together. So side note there, but as I began to realize what was taking place, and I think we've also seen that recently with the banking industry post 2008 collapse, right? I don't even know how many small local banks have been demolished by the Big Five. And just a couple years ago, a bunch of regional banks collapsed and went away. One out in California there. And if I'm not mistaken, what I'm reading off beefinitiative.com is this is what's taking place in our beef industry right now. Tell me what your learning curve was like, and what were the finer points that Slim introduced you to? What were the ideas, the main core ideas that hooked you, like, whoa, this is worth dedicating my life to in support of this?
Man, well, everybody's got a different entry point into beef. It's getting really popular now. A lot of people's entry point is nutrition and health, and I think that's great. It's definitely something very close to me, of course. But for me, coming from where I come from, and saying everything that I just said about loss of access to tallow, all that stuff, right? How do you get tallow? You got to process that cow. So for me, it all came down to when Slim explained that 4 multinationals control all the processing in this country, and that we have lost. He says, Slim likes to say, Texas has 254 counties. They used to have 254 processing centers. Not anymore. And so that's what fixes our society. That's what brings local beef into local schools, into local corner stores, and feeds these people, meeting them where they're at, you know? And so it's all about the processing center, man. It's all about the processing center. Everything else comes after that. The education and the marketing, of course, it's a huge, huge, important part of it. But for me, when I learned that we have lost all of our processing centers and that's the reason we don't have access to cows anymore, that was like, holy crap. And when I met with Slim out in Texas, because about a year and a half after meeting Jordy and all those down in Miami, Slim went out to Thailand because Slim's like, I like to call Slim the Steve Irwin of beef. Crazy Uncle Slim, the Steve Irwin of beef. So he went out to Thailand because he was doing some investigations. He wanted to rebuild this global cattle industry peer to peer with local beef. And when you go out there, the same shit's happening out there. Same stuff. They don't got access to cows. Their food supply is filled with seed oils. Most of our seed oils come from out there. I don't know if you know that, but all the vegetable oil, canola oil, palm oil. But yeah, so he was seeing the same things. He hit me up when he was out in Thailand. He kind of left me back here to run, the beef initiative or whatever, which was maintaining the website, all the stuff, right? Like communicate with people. I did not have the confidence to communicate with all these ranchers, man.
I can't imagine, man, coming off the streets, getting thrown into this. Now, all of a sudden, you're talking to not only ranchers, which are some of the hardest human beings out there on the planet. Shout out to Braxton McCoy, right, and his folk, right? But it's also these people are angry, and
they're distrustful,
and yep. They're distrustful for good reason. So, but what did Slim, he just was like, hey man, figure this out, or
pretty much. Figure it out, but he wouldn't have thrown me in a deep end if he didn't believe in me, because my spirit was there. I had that chip on my shoulder, the same chip that he had, right? Like the kind of chip that doesn't go away, like chip that keeps hurting and pinging you and reminding you of everything that's happened. And so, look, I was a guy with everything in front of me, and the spirit was alive. The beef was fundamental. My perspective of when I understood the tallow thing, the cooking with tallow thing, the processing, he was like, June, you don't have the confidence right now, but I know that you have all of the knowledge already. You know 100 times more than a lot of these ranchers that you're going to go interact with. You need to believe in that and believe in yourself, because you're coming from a place that no one is coming from, and that's your power move. And it took honestly, it took about a year and a half, or more, probably up until a couple months back, to really, really start to own that.
Tell me what some of those first conversations with ranchers that you were approaching. Hey, we're doing this thing. What did they? Was it like click, or was it?
Yeah, it was a lot of disrespect. It was a lot of disrespect. Yeah, man. I bet. It didn't rub me the right way. I'll tell you that. I was like, this is what I'm doing right now.
You're from Philly.
I'm like, exactly right. So I have a bad attitude already. I got a bad attitude already, so you come at me sideways, it's going to come right back to you. I'm not a salesman. I'm kind of more like a hustler, right? Like that's my deal. So you like it, you don't. Okay. But that's why I have a good team around me now. Ranch Mama Shannon. Shout out to Ranch Mama Shannon. The kid who lost his mom, came up on the streets, found Ranch Mama Shannon in Kellerton, Iowa. And she like Slim, she believed in me. Wow. I don't know why, but she did. And so I keep those people super duper close. I keep them very close because I've been called, I told people a little bit of the story. I told a rancher from Jersey I was like, this is my guy. We're going to connect, man. This is going to be my guy, man. This is awesome. He was like, basically, F off. You're a marketing company. Don't give a crap. Get out of here. I'm like, bro, your listing has been on our map for free. I just came off the streets, bro. Your listing is on there for free. It's only $25. You're a marketing company. I don't want nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So there was, man, it's been a long road, but yeah, now that.
What did Ranch Mama teach you about talking to ranchers? Because they're just a different cut of people, man. They're when you live in the saddle and you live in that butcher shop and you live, with the worry that you might lose 100 head and with some kind of bizarre disease every single day. You got your family out there ranching with you, man. Those are hard human beings, and they like we said, there's a reason when you said 75% of the whole processing industry with 3 American companies and 1 mega corporation, JBS from Brazil, I'd be pissed too. So what advice did she give you?
I mean, it wasn't so much advice. I'm a little hard-headed. No, I do take the wisdom of these people around me. Of course, I come with what I come with, and there's a lot to learn. And so I mean, really, it wasn't necessarily advice. It was just practice. And I mean, you know what? I guess really her advice to me most recently was, you're getting kind of loud, and you're getting kind of bold, and it's having a big impact, and it's working, but don't forget that you are talking to a population that is a little bit quieter than you. And
June, I've been told that once or twice myself, brother.
Yeah. So, but look, there doesn't need to be one way that we do beef, or one way that we sell beef, or one way that we market beef, right? Look, if we can deport JBS, these Brazilian bastards, get these guys out of here. If we can deport JBS, we can free up 20% of the beef industry for American ranchers. Now, they didn't do that before because JBS was too big to fail. I forget who said it, some guy in Congress, whatever. I don't play in politics that much, but I've been dabbling into it a little bit more because I'm getting really good at writing about policy, but I don't play politics. And so I forget where I was going with that, but
the lessons from Ranch Mama, and then just how you're taking that to bring these ranchers into the initiative. I think because that's your main objective, right? You want to convince that these family-owned ranches that do not have marketing backgrounds, that do not know how to connect to customers, not only in their own state, but in all the states around them. I mean, I went to your beefmap.com, which is, I highly recommend anybody listening, if you're interested in really understanding where you can source locally farmed beef. This organization has beefmaps.com, and you can find all of the ranchers that support this initiative on this map. And, as June just said, he had one listed in Jersey for free without even charging them anything for that service. So, how are you, what is you and Slim and who are the other people in your initiative, and how are you convincing these people to join?
Sure. Well, okay. So in the back here, of course, in order to have the confidence that I have currently, in the cattle industry is because I got some people behind me that advise and tell me, like, dude, you're just crushing it right now. I don't understand how no one is getting at what you're getting at. So one of those people that's really close to me is Cole Bolton. Cole Bolton from KNC Cattle. He recently sold KNC Cattle. He was a processing center owner outside of Austin, Texas. He processed 400 ranchers' beeves 400 local ranchers had access to processing because of that man. And so that's who I got on my phone all the time. And, you know, he said to me the other day, he was like, June, you know, sometimes I really wish I was from the East Coast because it would just be so much easier to be direct like you.
Yeah, you're like, you got to live in Philly. The only way you get that way is if you, and if you're on the streets in Philly. I tell you what, to all my Philly brothers from Penn State, man, God bless you. I miss you all. In fact, one of my best friends right now from the SEAL teams is a firefighter in Chinatown in Philly. And, he's meeting a lot of people on the street and just, he's like, Rut, Philly's different. I was like, I know, bro.
It's different, man. It's different. It's hey, look, that's where the Declaration of Independence was signed, right? I mean, you lead out there. So things are a little bit different. You know, culture's a little bit different. Religions are all mixed up, and not from immigration.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you got friggin' million Muslims out there that generations were born there, right? So it's not even, it's a unique melting pot of a place. And, you know, it took me a while to kind of love Philadelphia again because it's dark. It took everything from me. It took my mom from me. It's so bad. There's more dope that runs through that neighborhood that I'm from than anywhere else on this planet.
Wow.
That's a fact. All the dope runs through Philly. So, and in Kensington. So anyway, you know, with all that, Cole's just like, you know, which is, you know, one of my advisors and supporters here on the back. You know, he kind of guides me in certain ways, you know, some of the JBS stuff that we're writing about right now. He's like, June, be careful, man. I'm like, bro, I've been butting heads with drug dealers my whole life. Let's go.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, as you're telling me this, and I read a couple of your articles that you have written there, and man, you're throwing blows you're throwing some haymakers out there. Are you guys nervous about trying to take on any of these mega corporations? Are you guys nervous about what might be the ramifications, not only for you guys, but for the beef industry, for ranchers out there? I mean, obviously they already feel like they're under assault. But you know, what types of attacks have you seen, not only against ranchers, but, you know, this whole initiative to get people back to locally sourced beef?
I mean, the attacks are already underway. You don't need to attack anymore. Like I said, we're losing 77 farms a day. That's not about to be a war. That's war, right? So, like, The way that I see it is this is already happening. This war has already been going on. Do I see any additional threats? Nah, not really. Because what else could they do? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they're already in control, and they know that. Who's this little guy from Philly going to come out here and say, JBS? They're not worried about that. And I ain't saying nothing new. Al Jazeera wrote about it. Bloomberg wrote about it. Reuters, AP, freaking Grok it. You know, ask Grok about it. Grok will tell you. So we're just putting the pieces together. I happen to be, you know, really good at technology. You know, coming up off the streets and progressing so quickly, technology was definitely part of that, right? And so, you know, and my kind of like human connection thing, I really love to make human connections, which is why it really pisses me off when people are mean to me, you know, in the industry and everything. But,
tell me about Jason Rich.
Jason Rick is another one. Yeah. Jason Rick is another one. He's out there in Crawford, Colorado. He's got some of the cleanest soil. He's rebuilt his ranch from scratch. He laid the plumbing, or they laid the irrigation, and he's got something really, really special. And he's one of the co-founders of the Beef Initiative too. So it was Texas Slim, Jason Rick, Cole Bolton, myself. Ranch Mama Shannon comes along. And that's really the core group. And Jason's out there. He recently put up his ranch home, his guest house for the ranch. So now he's got another piece of income coming. And part of that, I'm very, very honored to be able to say this. Part of that money, $10,000, the Beef Initiative and the I Am Texas Slim Foundation gave to Jason Rick for his internship building. So,
oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So you know, we try to lead with by serving other people. You know, first and foremost, we lead through service. Said that, you know, we do have some free listings on there. The listings that are on beefmaps.com, they started out not because, you know, I scanned the internet and started, you know, just adding ranches. We had a portal when we first launched for consumers. Hey, tell us where your rancher is. Put them on the list. Let's get these guys some business. And so the first 160 ranches came from consumers just adding the ranch themselves. Wow. Yeah, and so we've been following up as we go.
What's up, team? I've been writing for over 40 years. Finally, I've decided to bring to life a character that has been on my heart since my experiences of carrying a gun for a living. If you recently watched my episode with my best friend on his show, The Sean Ryan Show, you heard some of my real-world experiences that shaped this character and the story of the poet warrior. Can a poet's soul survive the crucible of war? The poet warrior follows Adam Ferguson, a reclusive teenage artist haunted by his father's early death, as he transforms into a battle-scarred Navy SEAL. Through the chaos of combat in the shadow of 9/11, Adam grapples with the raw truth of mortality. His journey is a searing odyssey of heartbreak, failure, and the relentless search for identity amidst the ruins of lost loved ones. Set against the turbulent dawn of the global war on terror, this is a story of a young man torn between his poetic heart and the hardened warrior he's become. If this sounds like a story that might pull you in, please visit my website at davidrutherford.com or click the link in the description below. And if you pre-order now, your signed copy will be delivered before the holidays. Thank you very much, and Godspeed. That's cool. And tell me what kind of the response. I mean, obviously you've quoted a little bit of a trepidation first initially with ranchers and you reaching out, but now as they get into the system, how many total ranchers do you have in the initiative? And what does the increase in business look like on average for these people because of joining forces like they have with you all?
Oh man. So it's hard to, okay. So the first question is I don't know the exact number because I'm just kind of adding them as we go, but I think we're probably up to like 190 or so ranches on there. We've added like formally paying subscribers. We've added maybe like 15 or 16 in the past 2 months. So that's really good. And they're mostly around along the bottom bar, our featured Rancher Direct certified ranchers. And so that's a certification system that we created. It's a standard mark, and really what it's about is single source beef fulfilled directly from the rancher without a supplier in the middle of it.
Awesome.
Super simple. But we had to do it because, look, I do believe we're going to get JBS out of here. I'm fully confident we're going to do that. As a country, we need to do that. And I believe that it's going to happen. Trump's making some moves right now that are very interesting.
There's a truckload going on right now in Brazil. They're the head of their Supreme Court has been kind of busted. They've sat on his assets in America. There's a probe because if you follow a guy named Mike Benz at all, he basically exposed how the State Department and the agency supported getting Lula, who's a criminal, in and Bolsonaro out, and how they were going at him. So, I think you're going to see tariffs on Brazil that are going to be absolute out of control. And I also think there's a heavy lobby in DC right now from the ranching world saying, hey, let's get these people in check and let's start having Americans buy directly from the ranchers. So I think you're in just an absolutely amazing time right now. Do you guys feel that? You said you weren't involved in any lobbying, but, obviously, maybe your pieces are being spread. Is there any initiative for you guys to get into lobbying or work with local congressmen or anybody in Texas or any of these other places?
I don't know about the lobbying thing. I don't know a lot about that world. We were written about once. So our senior writer and research analyst, who we bring in from time to time, Brianna Sagdahl, if you haven't checked her out, wow. She's amazing. Brianna 9, BREEAUNA, Brianna 9 on Twitter. Yeah, she's a powerhouse. She works with us, from time to time, and she spoke independently, just as a citizen up in South Dakota, in our push to get 3D printed meat banned from taxpayer, stuff. So we succeeded in that, and they gave the Beef Initiative a shout out in the recording. It was amazing, and then somebody wrote about it, and they called the Beef Initiative an NGO. And a lobbying organization. Both of those things are incorrect. Okay, we are a think tank. The Beef Initiative itself is for profit.
Yep.
The I Am Texas Slim Foundation, which is the Beef Initiative's foundation, is nonprofit, and that's it. So we work with the foundation side is relief efforts and some policy work. With Brianna. A little bit of support. It's a startup, foundation, so we don't have a lot of flow there, but I get a little bit of support for beef news and beef maps. And yeah.
Well, I just think what you're doing is really interesting. As I scroll through some of these ranchers, right? Ebersol Cattle Company, Browsey Acres, Beck Ranch, Shirttail Creek Farm, Carter Country Meats, Chapman 3C Cattle. Tell me about these people, some of them, and tell me about who they are and kind of their stories. Maybe pick one of them and share their story right now with the listeners.
All right, sure. Well, I think, I got to really, really talk about Ebersol Cattle. That's Ranch Mama Shannon. Ranch Mama Shannon and her family, she likes to talk about how she wasn't really a cowgirl. She would never eat anything that had to die in order to be eaten, right? And then she met a cattleman, and well, things kind of changed since then. And she became a cattlewoman, and now she's leading that charge from her ranch and helping me lead this with beefmaps.com. And so they're out in Kellerton, Iowa. They're grass-fed, grass-finished. They have access to their local processing center, not the big four. The breed of cow that they have is Maine Anjou, right? Ooh, sounds fancy. And it is. It's a different kind of breed, right? A lot of the cows that you see out here in America, for damn good reasons, Black Angus and Beefmaster, because it's really damn good. But there is a whole world of cows with different taste profiles, different nutrition profiles. And what I love about what she's doing out there is that she's bringing that education of, it's not just Black Angus. It's a cow's not just a cow. Cow's not a cow's not a cow, right? It's like they're all different, and it's really about how you raise it, how you process it, and the care that you take both before and after to make sure that cow both lives a good life, but it's also expressed to the consumer in a way that they know. And she I told you that she kind of gave me some advice before, like, don't forget who don't forget who you're speaking to. I love the energy, June, but don't forget who you're talking to, loudmouth. Okay. And she's old.
I love that. She's a smart woman.
Yeah. That's Ranch Mama. Yeah. So I listen to her. I listen when she speaks, I listen to her. And, it's just a really good relationship. The Browsy Acres on there, I can tell you a little bit about them.
Please.
The part that I really love about Browsy Acres, aside from the fact that it's Ronda Rousey from the WWE.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Aside from that, which we kind of keep that in the background a little bit. For her to respect their privacy and everything. And of course her husband Travis, who's the MMA,
Yep.
king, right? So anyway, but as tough as they are, they're regenerative ranchers. And they're not just regenerative ranchers, grass-fed and grass-finished. They're grass-fed and regenerative grain-finished. That's different. Wow. What the heck does that mean, June? That means that the grains that they feed them move around in the pasture with them. And the grains are grown on the farm. So when you hear people talking about it's only you can only eat grass fed, everything else is unhealthy. That's garbage. That is a psyop right there. Because there are so many ways to raise a cow. Whenever I hear, I call them grass fed Nazis. I love grass fed, grass finished. The beef that I get down here in Florida is grass fed, grass finished. Can't tell you where I get it. They're the Mennonites and they prefer their privacy, but
got it.
But that's just, you have to dig deep into this industry. You have to dig deep because the stories, the experiences, the different protocols, the different ways of raising cattle, the different breeds. Talk about, you go into different regions and things start to change, right? You're not going to raise a cow you're not going to raise the same cow in Florida that you do in Colorado. Mm-hmm. Although you might be able to crossbreed and have pretty good results. One of these guys I know down here, he crossbreeds Red Angus and Beefmaster, or sorry, Black Angus and Beefmaster, which is a different kind of deal. And a lot of the cows down here, it's sandy soil. What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
but his beef is so just marbled and I'm like, how the heck did you pull this off? Well, it's a closed herd. He's been raising these cattle in a closed herd on his land for 5 generations.
Wow.
Right? So that's what you get when you dig deeper, right? That's what you get when you depart from the multinational beef system, when you stop shopping at the grocery store. And let me just say this. My experience of going from eating beef at the grocery store to eating beef from my local rancher, it is quantifiable, right? So I was fasting when I first started to kind of change my diet. I needed a reset. I was fasting. Wake up, I go to the store before, get some grass-fed beef, from the grocery store, cook it. Man, it's damn good. Lots of butter, super good. I am full. I am nourished for like 5 hours. I'm like, damn, off of an 8-ounce steak. That's amazing. Well, that ain't nothing. I started buying beef from my local rancher, same 8-ounce steak. Now I wasn't hungry for 7 hours.
Wow.
Why? Why is that? And how much money did I just save not buying snacks and this, that, and the other thing? And it's not just about like what you're not hungry from when you eat actually nutritious local beef. Your entire desire structure changes.
Interesting. Yep.
You just don't need things anymore, right? You're good. What do kings eat? They eat steak. They're kings, right? You want to live a life of luxury. Just shake your rancher's hand and cut out all the BS. It's that simple.
Well, RS June, man, I can't thank you enough. This has been absolutely educational for me. Your story alone makes it incredible. And the fact that you have these really amazing people behind you and supporting you and working with you to create something that can probably, what is it? Go to war, like you said in the beginning, and take our food sources back and give it back to the people, whether they're from the streets or they're in the suburbs or they're out in the rural beautiful lands of this great nation. So I really appreciate it. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find, how they can participate, and what you guys got coming in the future?
Absolutely. So if you want to connect with me directly, you can follow us on at Beef Initiative on X. That's really where we're the most active. That's where the truth is at currently. It might be one big honeypot operation for the AI apocalypse of the future, but for now, it's really doing a great job. So if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me there. If you would like to support me and my work through Beef Collection, we just launched the Rough Shot Collection, and you can visit onerancher.com. One rancher, just one source. Not a lot of ranchers, right? If you go to the grocery store, you know how many cows are in one pack of ground beef? About 100. Yikes! Wow. So if you would like to go to onerancher.com, we've got a nice collection of Rancher Direct certified beef. Visit beefmaps.com and connect with your local rancher directly. We do have e-commerce functionality on there, but that's the second tier. We really encourage you to visit your rancher's website, even if they just have a Facebook page. Just connect with them directly and let's build this thing out. I'm also the editor-in-chief and writer over at beefnews.org. So I'm doing a lot of work with journalism and showing people really the ins and outs of what's going on. I'm trying to drip out a lot of good information. So 3 sites there. Beefmaps.com, that's number 1. Go support your local rancher. There's beef priced at everyone's price point. Do not think that because it's grass-fed that it's super expensive. Look around. Everybody's got a different situation going on, right? So that's decentralization right there. Number 2 is onerancher.com, O-N-E, onerancher.com. You can buy from the Rough Shot Collection, single source beef, Rancher Direct certified, fulfilled directly from the ranch. And number 3 is stay tuned to beefnews.org. We've got a great conversation coming up on there with Sally Fallon from Weston A. Price, who we have been very blessed to be partners with the past couple months. Certain folks see what we're doing, and Weston A. Price is one of them. Also, our supporter this month at the Beef Initiative is the I Am Texas Slim Foundation. So I would encourage everyone to please visit iamtexasslim.org. If you got a few bucks, go ahead and donate. It'll go to help everything that we're doing over here. If you're looking for real, raw, local milk, Weston A. Price built a map called realmilk.com. So don't want to throw too much at you. Really, the main thing is beefmaps.com. You can get to everywhere else from there. And that's it. All
right. June, thank you so much. You were fantastic. And just one last thing, man. I am for sure. I know that your mom would be incredibly proud of who you are and what you're doing in your life right now, man. So God bless you and God bless the Beef Initiative.
I can't thank you enough, man. God bless yourself. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.